What's going on, guys? This is Rob. If you guys enjoy my content, make sure you hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit that little bell so you never miss out on my sexy voice. Okay, so I believe I am finally over my flu. Thank God. Dude, this thing was such a hassle to have, dude. God, I hate this flu. Anyway, so we are on to Infinity Countdown. Now, for those of you guys who don't know, Infinity Countdown is the big lead-up event that Marvel's doing to their Infinity story. And it's kind of funny because Marvel was like, no new events for 1,800 months. But I mean, everybody knew Marvel wasn't going to be able to stick to that, especially with something as big as Infinity War. Marvel was definitely going to have to find a way to like tap into that. But one of the things we covered in Guardians of the Galaxy, which is really why we covered that story, is because that saw the return of Adam Warlock. Now, for the most part, the return of Adam Warlock was maybe 2 or 3 pages in that story, in the sense that you had the main Guardians of the Galaxy story going on, and then Adam Warlock was, basically kind of yanked from Soul World and just ended up in the main Marvel universe, and he had been brought forward by Cain the Conqueror. Now, what this does is it kind of shines light on a few different things. One of the first things that I want to talk about here is the nature of Adam Warlock and the role he played with regards to Jim Starlin versus what's going on right here. In recent weeks, probably within the last month or so, Jim Starlin had kind of been ousted from Marvel. He had basically, either been forced to leave or left, but regardless of the motivation as to why, he's not with the company anymore. But one of the last stories that he wrote came after All New, All Different Marvel, and it was Infinity Finale. And what Infinity Finale did is it established that Adam Warlock is the new living tribunal. Now, the weird thing about this is that Marvel's, one of their top guys, Tom Brevoort, said, well, that story's not really in continuity. But it doesn't really make any sense because a living tribunal is designed to be a multiversal entity. If it is a story that takes place in a defined space with planets and stars and so on and so forth, it's a story that takes place in the universe. If it's a story that takes place in the universe, it's part of the multiverse. And the Living Tribunal is not bound by any one universe. The Living Tribunal is a multiversal entity. Ergo, if Adam Warlock became the Living Tribunal in one universe, then he is the definitive Living Tribunal throughout the multiverse. So I mean, that's one of the reasons why it doesn't really make sense, but Marvel says that's not true, so I guess we kind of have to go with it. And even then, with this story, they don't really draw on that. They don't really kind of say, well, yeah, I mean, you're the Living Tribunal, but like, you're also here. That was an alternate reality version of Adam, so that could still work. You could still make it fit. But the whole idea here is that Adam Warlock returning came from Soul World. And Soul World, as we talked about in our Adam Warlock Explained video, was really part and parcel to Adam himself, in the sense that the Soul Stone was introduced to Marvel Comics in the original Roy Thomas Adam Warlock era, when it was basically, Adam becoming kind of like a Christ-like figure and basically being given the Soul Gem by like the High Evolutionary. But the idea was that when Jim Starlin took over the character, when he started expanding on the Marvel cosmology, the overall gist was to say that the Soul Gem houses Soul World. It's an actual pocket dimension. That's one of the reasons why I say in Black Panther, the Panther God Bast will probably be in Soul World, or at least that's how Black Panther will communicate with all the former Black Panthers, is by using the Soul Stone. But regardless, the Soul Stone houses Soul World. And one of the things that Starlin had established is that the Soul Gem, unlike the other Infinity Gems, it has the ability to basically steal people's souls if they don't keep themselves weary, if they're not able to maintain control over the stone itself. And so because of the fact that Adam Warlock was in possession of the stone for so long, because of the fact that he had to basically find a way to keep the stone from taking his soul, as well as taking the spirits of like Gamora and Pip the Troll and like Drax the Destroyer and whisking them off to Soul World when their physical bodies had died, he'd effectively become part and parcel to the Soul Gem itself. And so it was as much of a part of his body as his arms and legs and head and torso and whole 9 yards. And so because of that, the Soul Gem and Adam Warlock have always gone hand in hand, at least as far as Jim Starlin's writing has been concerned. And so with that in mind, with Cain the Conqueror waking up Adam Warlock, or at least kind of bringing him to, the indication here seems to be twofold. It seems to be that Adam Warlock, just kind of came out of this cocoon by his own volition. And that's one of the things that's kind of hit home here. With regards to this whole discussion that takes place between Cain the Conqueror and Adam Warlock, Cain really kind of gives us as the reader a tour of Adam Warlock's life. Now, for those of you guys who have seen my videos on Adam Warlock Explained, this is all familiar territory to you. And in truth, we'll be retreading water. But for the new folks, this is the life and times of Adam Warlock spread over the course of 2 pages. That's really about it. Adam Warlock was created by a group called the Enclave. They wanted to basically find a way to conquer the world. They created the perfect artificial being. Ultimately, Adam Warlock turned against them and alongside the Fantastic Four, defeated the Enclave and then took off into space. Once that happened, he actually tried to take Sif as his bride, came into conflict with Thor. Thor defeated him. Adam Warlock retreated yet again, and then of course he was basically brought back by the High Evolutionary. He was given the Soul Stone. He was sent to counter Earth, which was just an opposite version of Earth, defeated Man-Beast, went back into his this cocoon. I mean, this is the kind of process that was repeated over and over and over again. The point where you see the involvement of Thanos, that's when Jim Starlin started taking over. That's when Jim Starlin had like this second, or I guess the first return of Thanos, and he allied himself with Adam Warlock, all the while plotting and scheming to steal the Infinity Stones for the first time that Thanos would possess them, which at the end of that story, he was turned into a giant piece of stone. But that's the way this is. It's basically this amazing, summed up life and times of Adam Warlock within 2 pages. He's fought alongside the Avengers, he's defeated Thanos, he was there during Infinity Gauntlet, so on and so forth. But the idea here is it really does again hit on the nature of Soul World, that the souls of individuals who have possessed the Soul Stone but had their souls taken reside within Soul World. Now, for the most part, it's a place of peace. That's one of the reasons why Adam Warlock always had this kind of Zen concept about him, because it was like, he kind of hung out in Soul World, and I don't know, I guess they drank tea and smoked weed all day long. I have no idea what they did when they were in there, but they just kind of hung out and they just chilled. But remember, this is Cain the Conqueror. Now, for those of you guys who don't know what that means, Cain the Conqueror is one of those weird characters that Marvel kind of messes with over the years. When it comes to time travel, traditionally in Marvel Comics, we're gonna keep this super simple, we're not gonna go into a huge in-depth thing, but when it comes to time travel, let's say, for example, that Wolverine, like Old Man Logan, travels into the future and meets his future self. For the most part, they're 2 distinctly different beings. There's the old, I guess the younger version of Old Man Logan before, in the past, and then there's the older version of Old Man Logan in the future. But they've had experiences in between these 2 periods that led them to become distinctly different beings. Now, a lot of this will turn into something, where it's like, I can't tell you what's gonna happen, for fear of ruining the future or something along those lines. But Cain the Conqueror is much the same way, just on a much grander scale. The idea is you've got, really, really old Cain the Conqueror from way back in the day, back in the age of ancient Egypt, and then you've got different versions of Cain the Conqueror along the way, and then you've got future Cain the Conqueror. But the idea is that they're all time travelers in some form or fashion. They all stem from the future Cain the Conqueror. And so the idea is that he's jumped back in time at multiple points and effectively created versions of himself. And that's why you'll see like 5 or 6 or 7 different versions of Cain the Conqueror, each of whom are completely different, some of whom don't want to become that future version, and some of whom do. It gets really weird and it gets really wild. And it's one of those characters that I kind of wish Marvel would just reconcile it all already and just kind of make sense of it all, as opposed to just kind of leaving him out there as a wildly confusing character. But the fact remains here, Cain the Conqueror is invoked in this story because he's basically a guy who resides at the end of time, the moment before all things end in the Marvel multiverse. And so because of that, he basically knows, or at least seems to have an indication of everything that's going to happen. Now, that's one of the weird things, is Marvel kind of teases the idea that the future's set in stone, but it's not set in stone. It's one of those things where like this guaranteed future is going to happen until someone stops it, and then it's not a guaranteed future. So now the future's kind of blank, and then something else will happen until somebody stops that or allows it to happen. And so because of the fact that Kang is kind of in this place where he's at the end of all things, when he looks at the past, when he looks at time, it's kind of a swirling mishmash of things that shift and move and change constantly because things in the past are influencing his quote unquote present, what we would call the future. So that's why it's so weird. That's why Cain the Conqueror is so mind-bending and mind-boggling. Basically, it's this idea that people in the past are changing things, and so Cain the Conqueror can't get an actual grip on what's supposed to happen in the future. All he knows is that somewhere along the line, someone is going to gain the Infinity Stones. They're going to bring all the Infinity Stones together. And when they do, basically all the Earth superheroes are going to die. So in a lot of ways, it's kind of a repeat of the events of the original Infinity Gauntlet story, but on a much bigger scale. And that's one of the things a lot of people seem to lose track of. The story Infinity War was, by all standards of definition, much larger than the events of Infinity Gauntlet. Infinity Gauntlet had a lot of cosmic entities, and the stakes were higher should, the superheroes have failed. But the idea was that when it came to the Infinity Gauntlet story, in terms of the number of Earth's superheroes who were fighting against Thanos, it was about a dozen, maybe a little bit more. In Infinity War, it was all the superheroes. It was the Fantastic Four, the X-Men, X-Factor, the Avengers, the whole 9 yards. Everybody was involved in that story. It was a huge event, but the general gist remains the same. Somebody's gathering the Infinity Stones, and somebody's going to use them to take out Earth's superheroes. Now, we don't know exactly how this fits together. We don't know what the first blow is. We don't know if Thanos is gathering the Infinity Stones and they all attack him and it's a repeat of Infinity Gauntlet. We don't even know if it's Adam Warlock himself. We're just kind of left to sort of figure this out on our own, or at the very least to give us a little bit of a taste, so that as the events are revealed when they go further into Infinity Countdown, leading up to this huge summer Infinity event, then it'll all start to make sense. But the idea of Kang is go into the distant past, travel back to the early days of Egypt, find this older version of myself, or this younger version of myself, really, and he'll tell you everything you need to know. And so this is kind of interesting here, because Marvel's done this on a couple of occasions. This point in time, when Adam Warlock travels back to the early days, this is back when Kang became Ramatut. This is back when he was ruling over Egypt. But the idea here is that with Adam Warlock speaking directly to this version of Cain, speaking to Ramatut, as we'll go ahead and call him, is essentially this instance of Ramatut has essentially been talking to his future self, been talking to Cain, and they've been exchanging notes. And all Cain would really tell him is, you need to make sure Adam Warlock gets to where he needs to go, that he gets towards this future. The problem with this is that while Cain is a time traveler, he is also wanting to make sure that he has the means to travel back to his future if he needs to. So it's kind of making sure that Adam Warlock can't really take his time travel ability, so to speak. And so what he ends up doing is basically saying, what you have to do is you have to get to that star over there, but you need to basically wait for a point in time whereby you can traverse the spaceways when your energy is stored up enough and get out to where it is that you need to go. But the reason why you have to get to that star is because you have to find the soul stone. And the reason why you have to find the soul stone is because, one, you're intertwined with it, and two, the person in possession of it is the Magus. Now, the Magus is a version of Adam Warlock from an alternate future. And the idea when the story was being told, back in the day by Jim Starlin, I'm pretty sure it was basically this idea that Adam Warlock, because of his exposure to the soul stone, would eventually become like a despot. He would just kind of go crazy and become like a terrible totalitarian dictator, but it would all be predicated on a theological basis, meaning he would go on to form a group called the Universal Church of Truth. And the Universal Church of Truth would span thousands and thousands of systems with billions of people and different alien races who would all be part of it. But Adam Warlock, or I guess the Magus, would use this as a means to basically solidify power and control. And so this brought Adam Warlock directly into conflict with an alternate reality version of himself, and then he effectively engineered circumstances so the Magus could never truly exist. Now this segued directly into the events of Infinity War, so that when Infinity Gauntlet ended and Adam Warlock basically took the Infinity Gauntlet, he brought the Magus back. And we'll wait until we cover, Infinity War to explain why, because you find out like 2 issues in, so it's not like a great big huge ending reveal for the story or anything like that. But the idea is that because, Ramatut doesn't just want to like give away his time travel technology, what he ends up doing is grabbing Adam Warlock and throwing him into a kind of stasis of sorts, basically throwing him inside of a tomb and just sort of keeping him there, just kind of keeping him confined to this space. Now, Adam Warlock being disabled is the only reason why he's not able to make his escape. Given the power that he has, if it got to a point where he came to, he would easily be able to break himself out. But Cain the Conqueror, having the kind of abilities and technology that he has, can easily subdue Adam Warlock. But it's basically saying, hey, look, because there's somebody out there that has the time stone, because there's somebody out there that has this particular artifact, what it means is that if I put you in a time machine and I send you forward in time and I say, here you go, man, head on out there, they'll immediately know what it is that you're doing and they'll stop you along the way. They'll basically block you in your tracks, and they could send you anywhere in time. They could send you into the far distant future, half a second before the multiverse ends. They could send you into the very, beginnings of the universe when the Big Bang first happens and all life comes into existence, and you've got to wait billions of years to get to the current point by which your body will most likely just burn out and die. The only way to basically allow Adam Warlock to travel to 2018, this moment right now, in order to essentially access whoever it is that has a soul stone, access the Magus, is to literally have him time travel the organic way, have him time travel the only normal way, to effectively throw him into a tomb and leave him there for however many thousands of years, so that when he reemerges, he'll be in the modern day and he'll be able to join the Guardians or whoever and track down the Magus and effectively take the Infinity Stone back. Now that of course brings a question, why didn't, Cain the Conqueror just send him to 2018 in the first place? I don't really know. I assume it was just for the sake of being able to tell a story. I'm not really sure. But what this does do is it sets Adam Warlock on the path. One, it brings him back and it sets him on the path of going after his, alternate future self, going after the Magus, and essentially setting the stage for the idea of him basically getting back the Soul Stone and returning to the position of Adam Warlock as we most commonly know him. But with that being said, guys, we're going to bring this video to an end. If you are new here to Comics Explained, make sure you guys hit the sub button to become part of the Rob Corps. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you drop a like, and I will catch you all later. Peace.